YouTube members who are watching this early, this info is for you. So I am about to take a trip to Illinois to visit my dad. He has some minor health concerns. He's fine, but I need to spend some time with him and help him out with some stuff around the house. So I'm going to go on a recording rampage as I'm about to be gone for about a week and won't be able to record while I am in Illinois. So if you have any donation deck lists that you would like to see, this is a fantastic time to submit them before I go on this recording rampage. I have not recorded with any Nadu decks or any Necropotence combo decks, so if you want to submit those, this is a great time. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to be playing with some big Eldrazi. Jacob and Caleb both submitted donation deck lists to see Eldrazi in action, and I used the first of those two leagues to do Eldrazi aggro, and now I want to do some big Eldrazi today. And I'm going to quickly just show off what Jacob sent me. This was not a deck list, this was like a pile of ideas, and it was kind of a turn this into something workable. And I want to talk about some things that I think I have learned in playing with some of these big mana decks recently. Planar Nexus has just totally changed the archetype. And Jacob's approach here was shove it in with all of these Urza lands so that Planar Nexus is going to enable them to be better lands immediately, as controlling Planar Nexus instantly turns on like Mine, Power Plant, and Tower, all the Urza Tron lands that you're used to seeing from Modern. But the issue here is that you are able to generate a very large number of combinations of these lands where you're not actually producing the extra mana. Apologies on that. So I think the way to do this is to actually just play Cloudpost and just Urza's Tower. Because the upside of Urza's Tower being a triple land is insane. So that's what I'm going to be trying out. And in terms of the threats here, like this is a 69 card pile, so this is a set of ideas. And what this lacks is cohesion. Like there's some mimics here and some It That Herald the End that represent an aggro portion of the deck. And then there's an absolutely massive amount of top end to this deck, including some things that probably just aren't the correct power level for this specific format. So we are going to stick to the cards that I think are good. And I actually put a very large amount of work into this deck list, so I hope it goes well. So based on browsing some other lists, notably I think the username is True Futurism had a really good list. This is where I have settled. So I want to be able to use Cloudpost as my primary way to ramp to these Eldrazi. And I want Urza's Tower to sort of be a backup plan. And if I am going to be on 29 lands, I would like to be able to make extra land drops. That is something that I found powerful in one of my previous leagues. But I also would like a way to get excess cards, because that can be a problem with these sorts of decks, is that, you know, you have 10 mana and then you have nothing to do with it. And I think Trenchpost is much more real than I initially gave it credit for. I think if you get a single Ulamog trigger and you get to junk half of your opponent's library, getting that second half with Trenchpost is not that hard. And it is not uncommon for blue decks in Legacy to look at 30 or 40 cards within the context of a game. So it may just be that like 3 Trenchpost activations is just lethal. Now, I might be getting a little lost in the sauce here, as I am cutting the land tutors from this deck, and I'm just accepting whatever lands come to me off the top of the library, rationalizing that most of the time I will probably get something that accelerates my mana, be that Exploration, Cloudpost, or Urza's Tower. Sowing Mycospawn is my way to tutor for lands, but I have kind of kept these lands as consistent as possible, but that means that I don't have access to utility lands. there's no Karakas, no Bojuka Bog here. And maybe I still need something like Glacial Chasm, but we're going to try this and see how it feels. As far as innovations go, I want Vexing Bauble in the main deck as my sort of combo hate card and simultaneous protection to make my mid-range cards uncounterable. The things that are higher up on the curve have really strong cast triggers or are otherwise uncounterable, so I don't mind if those get countered, but this stuff I would really like to resolve. Thought-Knot Seer is my bridge to the late game. It is a body. It is interaction for combo. Disruptor Flute is normally just going to name Wasteland and slow that down, but if we know the matchup, we can also kind of have a little bit of wiggle room to shut off other important cards, be that Dread Return, Necro Dominance, whatever. So the idea is that we have 12 main deck anti-combo cards that are hopefully castable a little bit early on, and then a mid to late game that will go over the top of most decks. I'm not really a fan of Kozilek's Return. I have cut that from the deck, opting instead for some Dismembers in the sideboard. Most of the sideboard here is the stuff that I'm running in most of my leagues right now. It's just the anti-combo 8, and then I am running a few things that are just going to kind of hit hard on very specific decks. I'm now second-guessing myself for whether or not I want a Glacial Chasm in the sideboard. I'll say that I do over one Dismember. Alright, bam, there we go. Yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into a match here. I'm hoping this goes well. This is still very much in brew territory. I think all of these various Eldrazi ramp decks are still in the exploratory stages. So let's see whether I am a genius or a madman, or maybe a little bit of both. And should you need any of these big mana cards or your Vexing Baubles or whatever, check out toamagic.com. Use promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you and save 5% on your order. And hey, you get free shipping on your order no matter what. And that's a pretty big perk when you're ordering online. Let's battle. Okay. My opening hand is not perfect, but with Devourer of Destiny here to select my first draw and help me find something like a Cloudpost or an Urza's Tower, I think this hand is perfectly fine. I'm going to put the Urza's Tower on top. That way I can just play turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, that sounds great to me. Pass turn. A turn 1 Wasteland would be quite good against me. That's not Wasteland. Fetch land to graveyard. Let us begin. So that's 3 mana, 4 mana. We just get to turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer and take whatever removal or otherwise important card my opponent has. Okay. So I will be taking the Cephalid Illusionist here and passing the turn. We do have Disruptor Flute as a way to potentially interact with this. I have never beaten a Nadu deck. Just literally never. Is impossible. We'll see if that trend continues. So I'm going to attack for 4. Someone said they are a huge fan as I beat them to death with an Eldrazi. Glad to have you. So let's Vesuva, copy Urza's Tower. I'm going to pass the turn with Disruptor Flute available. It does have Flash. Brainstorm's fine. It is my intention to name a combo piece with this and then just use the cast trigger to get rid of Nomads and Core. So let's Disruptor Flute. My opponent needs to respond to fetch and clear that Brainstorm. I'm going to assume that Hedge Maze and Narcomoeba are gone. I think I am just going to name... I'm going to name Nadu, since I took out one Illusionist already. Ooh. That feels like a distraction. 3, 6, 7. Does this land come into play tapped? It doesn't. I could use 6 to cast this. Get an untapped Urza's Tower. And not have enough for this as well. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it next turn. So cast trigger, take out nomads. Bash in for 4. I don't super care if my opponent bounces these creatures out of play. Alright, opponent's cashing in their card draw. That's fine. Cantrips are actively good for me. Cantrips are actively good for me. But now my opponent can clear. There's a new nomads. Well, that's cool. So I can exile a land, hit for 10 damage, and then tutor up a scary Eldrazi friend. So if my opponent just takes 10 here, then the fetch land is off, so they might need to chump block. Yeah. So let's filter here. Kick it. We'll attack the green since my opponent has more white showing. I will pick up a Trenchpost, but we're not super well set on that right now. Where's my Eye of Ugin? Is my Eye of Ugin in exile? It sure as fuck is. Guess I will just get a Cloudpost then. I guess that's something I need to watch out for, and maybe I should have a second Eye of Ugin. That was very much not on my conceptual radar. So I think my opponent needs to Cephalid Illusionist and 1 mana thing to go with it in order to win. So I don't think a win is possible anymore. So my opponent now needs to have single mana white removal spells for 2 of these creatures. They do not. So let's turn Vexing Baubles into ley lines to deal with the Cephalid Breakfast half, and then let's find a way to slot in 2 Dismembers. I love the idea of exiling half of my opponent's library. I think I'll just trim 2 Explorations. Well, I don't think this is a mulligan. This is turn 3, ramp, and exile a land. I have 4 mana on turn 2, but not 4 towards green. I think I'm going to keep this. Like, sometimes I am just going to get turn 2. Ooh, nice. Turn 2 Goldfished, and, like, that is what it is. I think I play Urza's Tower here. But I think I am gearing up for a fair game with a combo finish that I expect to take a few turns. Alright, my opponent likes their card. Oh, I love this, like, pass the turn game that we are playing. That is very favorable for me. Ooh. Oh yeah. This feels like cheating. Okay, so I've got protection from everything. There's nothing I can immediately draw that I would play. Now, notably, protection from everything does not stop me from getting comboed, right? Good, it's not happening. Alright, opponent's got 3rd land drop. And no onboard creatures. I love seeing that. So let's start doing cool stuff. Love that for me. I'll take some damage. Disruptor Flute's great. I'm going to go ahead and draw the extra cards now, even if that means that I end up discarding, I think. I'm always playing Thought-Knot Seer, and then probably playing Disruptor Flute afterwards. That eats up all but 1 of my mana. No, that's okay. Oh, it's just resolving. Unexpected. I could Disruptor Flute, name Source of Plowshares here, because I assume that's what my opponent is casting, but I just don't think I care about the Swords of Plowshares. Yeah, this is fine. Now, I'll take a card out of this hand. So, I think I like the idea of taking Nomads in core, and then making Nadu cost, what, 6 mana? Yeah. And then I just start blowing up my opponent's lands. Kind of leave them with 4 pieces of the same side of the combo. I do just die to Shuko at some point, though. Yeah, I just died to top deck Shuko. Alright, I'll get rid of Nomads in core, pass the turn, and have the ability to shut off a Shuko or Nomads in core that is played out. Right, so bam. There's a Nadu. It resolves. I think I will go ahead and draw my card immediately. A new 1 ring. I need to just hold up this mana. Hope not. Opponent floated a mana in response. So I'm going to name Shuko here. That one's like tutorable via Urza Saga and whatnot. Alright, so let's take a little damage. Draw some cards. Oh, cool. It's another one. Like, I just know that they are resolving right now. Let's make some green. Enters untapped. Yeah. I will go ahead and kick this. I will exile my opponent's green mana. I'll search for a new Urza's Tower. I played a land. I haven't. Cool. Yet another Urza's Tower. 3 mana. New Disruptor Flute on Nomads and Core. And then I will go ahead and move to discard. I'll get rid of a Trenchpost. We're not really playing that game of Magic here. And then between these One Rings and Sowing Mycospawns, I am going to obliterate my opponent's remaining lands. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. Okay, I don't like this hand. I don't have enough mana. Easy mulligan. This one is fine. Exploration is going back since I do not have any early access to green mana. We're going to be a little slow to get off the ground here. Hopefully we have inevitability, and I have some very strong top decks. But it is possible that things could be clunky here. I'm going to start on Urza's Tower in case I top deck Planar Nexus. I have the ability to Thought-Knot Seer immediately on turn 2. Opponent says, well, that's a surprise. Hey, no, bad. Kazaku, don't do that. This was what the Disruptor Flute was for. Alright, let's gain some life past the turn. So what is my opponent playing? Maybe Stifle Knot with Wasteland here? Some blue fetches. Yaw. I'm going to do this in their upkeep. Maybe in response to a fetch. Alright. Bam. Give them the flute. Alright, there's the obvious fetch in response. I will just be naming Wasteland. I know it is in the deck, and it is a problem for me. No immediate play. We are Vesuva-ing, copying Glimmerpost, gaining some additional life, any untapped land, and I am off to the races, mechanically speaking. No end of turn dress down, that's nice. No hard read on what the opponent is doing for sure yet. Makes this Disruptor Flute a little hard to use. We will just pass the turn. For sure. Mystic Sanctuary for Ponder. I can let that go on top and then put this on Ponder to make Ponder a 4-mana card. That's kind of funny. I might just name something like Force of Will, though. There also may be other colors in this deck that I don't know about. If I see red, I can name Fourth Aerlingas, make that into a considerably worse win condition. If my opponent Prismatic Ending's a Disruptor Flute, I can kind of go about things that way. Oh, they let it hit play. I can just hit the Scalding Tarn then. So my opponent didn't fetch, meaning that there's something on top of their library that they want. It could be Triumph. Make Triumph cost 5 mana if miracled. That's still castable. I'm just going to name Scalding Tarn. Just treat it as a land destruction spell. Alright, I didn't want the next Glimmerpost here. I wanted something that was going to ETB untapped, but next turn. Next turn, we start doing things. It is Dress Down. Is it Null Drifter? It is Null Drifter. So that is on cast, draw 2 cards. The Annihilator is kind of whatever. The body is notably colorless. So if I draw one of these, it doesn't actually exile this. I am also only on 4 mana. I think Force of Will is pretty likely right now. I'm going to Thought-Knot Seer this turn. I assume that this either gets a Force of Will or is countered. Daze. Not great. Mystic Sanctuary gets back a cantrip. That's fine. I'm going to give them their Scalding Tarn back. I think protecting from Wasteland is ultimately much more important. And we just see if I can power through this stuff. Like, this is turn 8. That's not quite good. Maybe I Thought Knots here first. Like, the one ring is the thing that breaks this game open. Rough. This is just a 4/4 now. So, I might just race my opponent. I'm going to hope they don't have another Wasteland and do this. I think I need to kind of high roll a little bit here in terms of remaining cards. Fuck. Another Null Drifter. Seems good. Well, my opponent did not Wasteland me. So that's great. Hopefully this resolves. I'm going to concede if it doesn't. I'm just taking 8 in the air with Annihilator too. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna call that good. Like, this is turn 9 and I just never got anything going. Maybe I should have just mulliganed this hand. My removal is not the best at stopping these critters. I think I'm probably running back the game 1 deck. Like, I can play 2 Dismembers for Doorkeeper Thralls specifically. I guess they also kill Null Drifter. And let's hedge against Null Drifter a little bit. I don't think I want the Filigree Silex. I think I would rather have the other stuff. Exploration is maybe the most questionable. Yeah, this is perfectly fine. This is just post into Planar Nexus, sowing Mycospawn. So this is quite a strong start. Oh god. Yes. The exploration is spell pierceable. Kind of either way that I do this. Let's exploration. Then put another Cloudpost into play. And next turn is gonna be good. And as a reminder, these are cast triggers. Brainstorm? Yep. Just passing the turn. Don't mind that. So 3, 6, 7. Really 6. And do this to play around days. Actually, let's just do both now. Kick it. Exile target land, and I will search for a land. Okay, just absolutely done with me. Yeah, that's fair. Turn 3 kill for the old big mana deck. That's why the explorations are there, despite being clunky. Yeah, this is fine. No initial play for my opponent. Let's Cloudpost. The hand starts to get a little awkward if Cloudpost gets wastelanded. It doesn't. Ah, you just have the old Stifle. Yeah, I mean, that's very actively good. We're going to have 3 mana this turn. 3 mana is unfortunately not 4 mana. I'm going to Trenchpost. Pass the turn. Need to dodge a Wasteland this turn. Otherwise, I can potentially chain 1 rings together as a way to get to victory. I'm at 8. Disruptor Flute, you are a little late to the party. So Glimmerpost gains some life. That is putting me to 11, notably. Spell Pierce gets me. Daze does not. Force of Will gets me. Fuck yeah, that's not Spell Pierce. Land to graveyard. Excellent. So that buys me at least 1 turn, and if this one resolves, the next one is pretty likely to resolve as well. Not guaranteed, but pretty likely. So my opponent can cantrip for answers. Yeah, that's really fucking bad. Okay, so I take some damage. So I can play Glimmerpost, go to 13, take 12, die. So that's not doing it. Alright, find our way out of this. None of that does it. Don't have any bauble redraws that get me there. Don't have a sizable blocker and 1 mana short of the 1 ring. Don't have a way to get a Glimmerpost into play at instant speed in my upkeep in response to the 1 ring trigger. That'll do. GG's. Okay. I think we've just got too much fat in this opening hand and not enough land. Do I want to keep this awkward 6 that is improved by Planar Nexus in particular, but to a lesser extent any land? I don't think so. I think I'll go to 5. This'll do. I don't think I keep the Flute on 5. And I think the Thought-Knot Seer is quite slow with this hand. Alright. Are we mooning over there? Yep. Okay, it's just Fable. That could have been much worse. Okay, so I'm going to Planar Nexus pass. Next turn I can Urza's Tower and have access to 4 mana. The Thought-Knot Seer that I put on bottom is currently looking much better than the Sowing Myco spawn, but we drew the literal ideal land to make Thought-Knot Seer look good, so, you know, keep that in mind. Let's see what the follow-up play is. Fuck. That probably means that I'm realistically dead. I think I'm going to go ahead and shut off Broadside. If by some miracle my opponent just kind of bottoms out here, I think Broadside is one of the scariest things that could end up happening to me. The Reflection of Kiki-Jiki obviously is very good, but if I shut that off, I'm still getting attacked for 4, which is still a problem. Yeah, like, even if I shut off Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, I am still getting attacked for 10 next turn. Yep, that'll do. So we have some number of cards that I can consider here. Vexing Bubble is not particularly exciting. Disruptor Flute is pretty easy to miss on. I can do it naming Blood Moon. I have a Waste? Oh, I took it out of the build. Don't have a Waste. I have Basic Forest. What if we get rid of this? How much of this stuff does that give me? That still gives me plenty of slots, so I can keep Disruptor Flute for Blood Moon specifically. These 8 cards. I can keep 1 Vexing Bauble for opposing artifact mana, or I can keep 1 Exploration as acceleration. Keep a Miser's Bauble. This is a lot of mana. My opponent might go under me still. I think this is worth keeping. Unfortunately, all of these have not generic colorless costs, but specific colorless costs, which are bad against Blood Moon. I'm going to take the Flute as a turn 2 playable. Is it exciting? Absolutely not. Do I maybe want to play it on turn 2? Yeah. Fuck. Well, that's a touch too slow now. So let's choose a new thing to shut off. What is the scariest from here? Probably still Broadside. Could be Goblin Rabblemaster on this specific board. But just never having to deal with that Broadside reach is good. Yeah. Tough for this deck to play Magic versus Blood Moon. Ah, Blood Moon brought a friend. So we can now Flute something else. Fable for the selection? Maybe. Maybe Fable for the selection. Okay, cool. No threats coming. Last turn, in your upkeep, I will give you more Flute. So, opponent does not have playable threats, so I think I name Fury with this one. That is something that could reasonably be stuck in their hand that I can try to keep in their hand. 5 mana. Brotherhood's End. That's pretty gross. Vesuva. Notably, it does not come in tapped, does not copy something. And again, all of these require actual colored mana, which I cannot do. Oh, opponent has no threats. I can eventually get 2 spells like this one. And I have like 29 or 30 lands in my deck. We'll just kind of see how many lands I keep drawing. 3, 6, 7. I need 3 more lands. I can also just draw something like the One Ring and get a lot of value off of that. Yeah, opponent just had way too much mana in hand from the look of things. 18. That's not playable. Oh no, what do we got? That clocks me real fast. Let's draw All Is Dust, huh? Let's draw All Is Dust. That's the 4th Thought-Knots here. 4 of a kind, not great. I haven't mathed it out yet, but I imagine that copying Goblin Rabblemaster just instantly kills me. Yeah. That's 2 more goblins. Each goblin gets like +5. Yeah, that sure as fuck looks like dead. For giggles, is it All Is Dust? It is not. GG's. Alright, here we go. So, the Devourer of Destiny thing happens at the beginning of my first upkeep, so my opponent does their turn before I do this. Opponent says, I was just enjoying your Eldrazi video. Funny that you mentioned that. We've got Underground Sea into ThrabenU, which is a particularly powerful card with Brainstorm. Alright, so now I get to do this Devourer of Destiny trigger. I don't exactly know what my opponent is doing. I think I'm just going to take a Thought-Knots here because of that. I'm going to Cloudpost, get the tapped land out of the way, and pass. Disruptor Flute could end up being used on the back end of ThrabenU. I don't really care about its abilities all that much, though. Like, if I do it, it's more for convenience and to bait out a potential counterspell than anything else. Sure. Disruptor Flute coming down on turn 2 is a very big difference from Pithing Needle coming down on turn 1. To just state the obvious, that is incredibly important to how this deck functions. So, my opponent could just, like, kind of alternate pluses and minuses. Disruptor... Oh, sorry, Psychic Frog, I mean. Sure. That Psychic Frog could end up putting a beating on me. Let's make my opponent make some decisions right now, because I'm threatening naming Psychic Frog with this Disruptor Flute. Yeah, so they might commit a little bit to it immediately. Okay, that's 2 activations. Now it's in play. I think I'm just going to name this. I'm pretty unlikely to end this game before it can ultimate. ThrabenU Seasoned Scholard. Pass turn. Going harder on Psychic Frog. I'm at 16. My opponent gets to start replacing these cards that have been dumped into Psychic Frog. Vexing Bauble. I'm thinking about whether or not I'm just like naked jamming Thought-Knots here into Daze, or whether or not I'm like waiting and trying to do Vexing Bauble nonsense. And I also have to think about like what happens if I top deck a Tron land. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Playing Eye of Ugin is potentially good this turn. In that specific instance, if I also Vexing Bauble this turn to help protect it, I will pay. Gonna get double dazed. Am not. Bowmasters are fine. A little more damage than I would like to be taking, but hopefully with air quotes uncounterable Thought-Knots here and Devourer of Destiny coming, hopefully that's just fine. Glimmerpost can gain me a bunch of life, but Psychic Frog can just convert any random dead card into damage, which is what's happening here. This is 8, I go to 7. And I probably need to Glimmerpost unless I draw a Tron. Oh, shit. That is a punish for playing Eye of Ugin last turn. Damn. Alright, play Glimmerpost. That gains me 3 life. Then I can go ahead and Thought-Knot Seer this turn into either Devourer or the One Ring next turn as I deem appropriate. Whatever card this is just gets played or fed to Psychic Frog immediately. Oh, it is a Dismember, sure. So then my opponent can discard this card to Psychic Frog right now. Okay, they missed it. 6, 7, 8. Could be a relevant miss. Right. Because if my opponent discards that card to Psychic Frog, then this is a lethal attack. Just deterministically. Oh, shit. Cracking the Clue. That is also deterministic. That's a shame. Maybe playing out Eye of Ugin lost me that game. Wild. Okay, so cards that answer Psychic Frog in some way are things that I should be thinking about. Disruptor Flute is fine. Vexing Bauble is fine. Oddly, the Thought-Knots here doesn't feel that good. Filigree Silex is slow. Go Thought-Knots here for Dismember all his dust. Keep this stuff. I could see not keeping Exploration, but it's really good. Daze bait. Yeah, this is fantastic. Give this the old Keeperino. I think I'm just like not gonna let Exploration just get countered on turn 1. I think I'm going to go ahead and just Vexing Bauble here. And if I trade for a Force of Will, I'm ecstatic. Ponder's fine. And then I can use my turn in some capacity to then Disruptor Flute Wasteland. Yeah, I think that just has to happen. So I Exploration, play 2 untapped lands, and then just Disruptor Flute Wasteland. And I don't have the Cloudpost mana next turn, but this is sort of playing in a risk-averse way. I feel quite safe. It's not like my opponent can't answer these artifacts, but this is pretty great as far as a start goes. Yeah, you got a frog. Oh, shit. So, yeah. This is 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Okay, so I'm going to take 1 Psychic Frog hit. I don't think I am interested in trench posting my opponent in their Psychic Frog deck. Not to mention, like, there could still just be Murktide Regent type stuff in there. Aha, nice. Oh, come on! Oh, that sucks. I probably need to now cycle this. Oh, that's rough. Fuck. So this is a cast trigger. I unfortunately don't have a Basic Wastes in this deck. I guess that means I am grabbing a forest. I will put another exploration in play, although I don't think it matters. And I need to get to one of the large generic cost Eldrazi's or All is Dust or something like that. Yeah, I'll throw this under the bus. Like, discard your cards. Cameo and Wasteland. We want cards to exit my opponent's hand, so there is a lower chance of Force of Will countering something like an All is Dust as this game drags on quite long. Although I might just get clocked in just a few turns. Sure. It seems like Murktide Regent. That's why we didn't Trenchpost. Yeah, this is just a 2-turn clock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but no colorless symbols. We are not good against Magus of the Moon type cards. 10 damage. Dead on board. Oh, more than 10. Oh, and give it flying. Yeah. So that's 12 damage, 1 card draw. Just in case you aren't clear on what happened there. Whenever an instant or sorcery leaves your graveyard, Murktide Regent gets a +1/+1 counter. Yeah, so that is not going to do it. Yeah, so we don't beat Magus of the Moon type cards. That much is clear. Okay, we have a reasonable hand here. My exploration currently doesn't do anything. That's hopefully fine. I would like to cast some big monsters. I haven't done much of that this league yet. Our games have been won and lost based on like things of this size. Or honestly, a lot of the 4-drops. So there's my Eye of Ugin. I probably just take that so I don't lose access to it. Maybe I don't need it and I just grab Forest, play Exploration. If it works, I Cloudpost immediately. Yeah, I'm into that. I think this makes my game much stronger in the cases where it works. Didn't work this time though, and that's okay. For sure. And that was a fast shuffle. Oh, Disruptor Flute. That card is better used after I have seen my opponent's hand. I'm going to Cloudpost and pass the turn. And sometimes I lose to like a Nuts Doomsday Pile or something like that. And that's okay. Basic Island, Psychic Frog, you got it. I have my answer for that in hand. I think the way that I'm going to approach this is just ramp. I'm going to Vesuva, copy Cloudpost, and immediately Disruptor Flute, and just name Wasteland. Discarding Life from the Loam! Fucking hot. Oh, I like it. You get a spicy in the chat. 100% Wasteland is in my opponent's deck, so let's stop that. Murktide in there as well. Murktide Psychic Frog, hell of a combo. Life from the Loam, Psychic Frog, nonsense. I love it. I'm going to take somewhere between 4 and 8 damage here. 7? Yeah, just get smacked for a third of my life total by Psychic Frog. Sowing Myco spawn is sweet. Let's drop a land. 7 on cast, nuke the Psychic Frog. Doesn't matter if this gets countered now. And it doesn't. Now, notably for me, this allows me to exile lands. I'm not going to have an Eye of Ugin to get. I could possibly mill this opponent with a couple of Trenchposts if for some reason all my various bodies die. Ooh. What did that return? Okay, just returned a Delta. Sure. So 3-ish turn clock here. Vexing Bauble is a reasonable pickup. Send it. 13. Play land drop. Play Vexing Bauble. Now my stuff's not getting countered. So 4, 5, 6. Do this with Kicker. Exile your green source, I guess, that is casting potentially Life from the Loam. I don't think it matters too much. Mystic Sanctuary getting back. Murderous Cut. Yeah, that's fine. I will pick up a new Cloudpost. Or Glimmerpost? Yeah, I'll just repad the life total a little bit. So then this is 5 mana. 2 Thought-Knot Seer. The Up the Beanstalk is not currently castable. And my opponent is drawing Murderous Cut, so I'm just going to take the Ponder. And I can also probably just cycle this Bauble end of turn. Counter spells don't really matter anymore. My opponent could have paid more mana there. Okay, cool. I just want to see what the next couple of... Okay, I can't. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, no, we would have tried to Trenchpost mill them out if I lived through that stuff. So I have Disruptor Flute for things like Psychic Frog. I am thinking about these cards just as additional removal. There's still like Up the Beanstalk and stuff there too. If my opponent did not have Wasteland, I would be boarding out the Flute, but they do. I think I'm boarding out the Explorations for these and being more or less okay with the rest of the stuff that's here. I can dig really deep if I so desire to basically guarantee a Cloudpost. But the hand's not really even good if I hit Cloudpost, right? I think I just mulligan that one. Yes, this hand is quite good. We are not ready for Emrakul. So this is a defensive hand that hopes to shut off counterspells and then shut off Wasteland. Alright, fantastic. I wasn't expecting something like a Delver from this deck, kind of based on what I'm seeing here, but it is not crazy. The second All Is Dust is perhaps not what I was looking for. Bauble in play. Alright, no immediate play. I guess this one first. The Glimmerpost is worth more later. I'll do this in my opponent's upkeep. Or in response to a fetch land. It's like technically dazeable off full mana. Yeah, I am just going to respond to that. So bam. I think I am still naming Wasteland. If my opponent had Psychic Frog, they had a chance to already play it on their turn. Surveil is fine. Junking a land. Hey, it's Wasteland. Very nice. So now we get to start doing the Cloudpost stuff. And we're not all that far away from just All Is Dusting. Don't love that. That means I lose Cloudpost. Oh, fuck. Yeah. I feel like this league has been me running into things that normally don't see play and getting absolutely wrecked by them. When's the last time you saw an Abrupt Decay? Like, artifacts are supposed to fucking sit in play and be happy little friends. I'm gonna keep it in play. Rough. With the black mana to do it as well. Yeah. I think this is supposed to happen draw step to give me a chance to draw a Cloudpost and then extract it from the deck as well. They don't know that I have crop rotation though, so they might be trying to do it before I have a chance to draw into a crop rotation and get one into play. I'm going to just Vesuva a Planar Nexus here and pass the turn. I think I'm going to keep Vexing Bauble in play because I'm kind of on draw tower for big mana as my plan. Yes. And then tower gets me to All Is Dust to answer frogs and whatever else. This is a cast trigger, super relevantly. So we get to, on cast, get a tower. This is not dazeable anymore since my opponent let this trigger resolve. And I think they had daze, just kind of based on timing. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's obviously not the best for me. Like, I would very much like to have that land, but I will be blocking the shit out of this Psychic Frog. I want my opponent to funnel more cards into it. They could just give it flying immediately, which feels correct to me. But I don't know if they've got like a Murktide Regent in hand or whatever. Alright, I am taking 1 as of right now. Opponent's just looking to draw the card. For sure. This is an Eldrazi spell, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have All Is Dust available next turn. I'm just going to hold this back. I don't think I care about the damage. I don't think I want to get ambushed by Orcish Bowmasters. I might need to play All Is Dust 2 turns in a row, though, if I suspect that my opponent does have a Daze. You've got it. Alright, there goes Force of Will. They get a card. And we've got some cantrips. The sort of funny thing here is that my opponent might be incentivized to put Daze back since it is a dead card against a lot of what I'm doing. We're looking to dodge Wasteland in particular. My opponent's deck is sweet, I really like it. Mystic Sanctuary, what are you most interested in? Surgical Extraction. You want to go after my towers now? You monster. Okay, they just let me draw. So, you know. Let's take the Psychic Frog out of play. I don't understand taking the Surgical Extraction and then not Surgical Extracting Tower. Oh, I see. You want to surgically extract my baubles to turn counter spells back on. Sure. Seems fine. Oh, so yeah. Okay, I'm just wrong. Counter spells are online. This is a cast trigger though. So let's get this cast trigger. I think I'm picking up a Trenchpost. I think I'm going to pass the turn and upkeep Disruptor Flute. If my opponent wants to hardcast a Force of Will on Disruptor Flute, I think I am okay with that trade. So yeah. The Daze is a little more annoying. But if that's a Daze that's not going after All Is Dust, again, I think we're okay with that. So any land gives me access to All Is Dust. I've got a Thought-Knot Seer. My opponent can just dump the cards into Frog in response. We got another Psychic Frog, and then Mystic Sanctuary is the last card. They could discard Mystic Sanctuary to Psychic Frog to grow it. I'm not going to attack here. Like, I just have an answer to Psychic Frog chilling in my hand. And, like, double blocking is a thing that is probably perfectly fine and reasonable as well. Mystic Sanctuary targets what? Lorien Revealed. Yeah, that's reasonable. So there's flying, so that my opponent can draw the Lorien Revealed. Psychic Frog confirmed good, in case you had any doubts. So there's a draw 3. The moving parts in this deck are, like, super cool. My opponent just is going to get smacked for 7 here, though. Going to 9. I drop Vexing Bubble. Good enough for Force of Will. I mean, that answered a Force of Will either way, right? So we're okay with that. Brainstorm away. Wasteland, Underground Sea, Wasteland. That's rough. Yeah. I will mill you. At this point, that Psychic Frog is going to carry the game. And Trenchpost activations, I guess, could be relevant. There's already more than enough fuel in there for a Murktide Regent, so that doesn't matter. So now I'm just not going to get to enough mana to ever All Is Dust from the look of things. So now Psychic Frog activations can also grow Murktide Regent. Life's bad. Oh, it's going to dump an extra card or 2 into the Frog. This is not the best. I can try to go wide of blockers here. Opponent can just discard the Frog. Hate this play pattern for me. Yeah. I'm probably just dead. Right? So my opponent just dumps cards into Psychic Frog. And then, like, Psychic Frog activates to grow Murktide Regent. Yeah, this is just lethal in the air. I could not quite get to that All Is Dust. We got another game to try again. I just stifle in this deck. Do I want a Leyline? I don't know. My opponent does have really good graveyard-oriented synergies. It's powerful. Like, if I Leyline, I don't need Disruptor Flute, but that assumes that Leyline is in the opener. Leyline is incredibly hard to cast. We need multiple copies of Planar Nexus. and quite a bit of excess mana. I don't think I like Thought-Knot Seer's play patterns in this matchup. I think I'm going to bring one of these in. I think I'm going to go Leyline. I'm not going to mulligan for a Leyline, but I'm perfectly happy to draw it in my opening hand. That's a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. I think it's a keep. Like, it is an awful, awful hand, but I think it's a keep. I shut off an important zone for my opponent, and I have an answer to an early Psychic Frog. I think I am keeping this and hoping that I draw out of it. It is just super awkward. I think I'm just going to believe in the deck literally being 50% mana and keep this. Not great, not terrible either. We're in play. I am unsure what my feelings are on this Vexing Bauble. It's great to back up this Dismember, but I do kind of need... my opponent does not want to keep their Murktide Regent for some reason. Alright, so there's no immediate Frog played out. I think I'm going to keep the Vexing Bauble for at least a couple of turns. Like, once I have something worth playing, maybe I start drawing to try to hit, like, Cloudpost or Planar Nexus and whatnot, but I just don't have that yet. And until then, like, let's keep this stuff off. Now I've got something worth casting. No plays from my opponent yet. Up the Beanstalk, you've got it. Maybe we'll keep Vexing Bauble in play to kind of counteract Force of Will and how strong it currently is. Is this target permanent? It is. So this is a cast trigger, so this is going to get us the Planar Nexus. Planar Nexus turns on both of these. Fuck! So disappointing. For sure. You've got to see. Am I eating a Fatal Push? I'm eating a Dismember. Yeah, you got it. Oh, that was a good stifle. So Hardcast Force of Will is online for some of my nonsense now. Gain 1 life. I'll just pass turn. I don't have any intention on sacrificing Bauble at this time. And Devourer of Destiny is my answer to up the Beanstalk. This is perfectly fine as well. Surgical on one of my tutors. Opponent has just responded with the word oof. Yeah? I think we do this keeping an Urza's Tower open. Oh, fuck yeah, we're in play. You got a Bowmaster, you got a Bowmaster. Negative. But we've got some spells to cast. Abrupt Decay the Bauble. I'll respond. I will draw a card. Alright. So my opponent's counter spells are live, but I got some shit coming. And I get a lot of looks for cards like Planar Nexus to just immediately make me pop off. Alright, so Glimmerpost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that I don't discard, I guess I will Disruptor Flute on my own turn. We are getting a fetch. So I can name Force of Will. I don't really care if my shit gets countered, though. I think I'm just going to name Psychic Frog. And just make it so that that thing can't grow outside of range of Dismember. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to have any issues racing my own One Ring. And the moment I find a Planar Nexus, I will unleash this shit. I can also just, like, exile half my opponent's library, and Trenchpost becomes a backdoor win as well. We are also getting to the point where my opponent's clock is a concern for them. But they do get to refuel here. It is just slightly unclear how much that refueling matters in the face of all of this. You may Thoughtseize me. My opponent has taken the thing that exiles half their library. I guess I could reanimate this. That would be kind of spooky. So, draw. Planar Nexus. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana this turn. So I'm going to nuke up the Beanstalk here. I will pass the turn and probably get rid of a Vesuva. Cantrips are fine. Yeah, I can sacrifice a Deuter, that's fine. An opponent will pass the turn. I'll take a little damage here. Leyline's not great. Do I just have Emrakul if I draw another tower? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No. It's really just one more damage, and I'll probably offset it with Glimmerposts. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Seems good. So bam, bam. Let's cast a Flute. Shut off Force of Will as a viable card. Let's cast a thing. It is dazable. I don't think that matters much. Let's attack some lands. Green being floated. Oh, shit, my Eldrazi's in play. I wasn't really expecting that. Force of Vigor. Sure. I've got another one. I just have better things to do with my mana, though. So we'll discard some cards. Yeah, do your setup. I have a 10 damage Eldrazi in play that probably needs to eat an edict. You are at 11 life. It also exiles 20 cards on attack, which is a problem for other reasons. Lo and behold, it is Psychic Frog. I have multiple Dismembers and All is Dust to answer it. I'm not too worried. Also, just the cast trigger of Devourer of Destinies also will do it. Opponent says, I can do this all day. You can do this for 3 minutes. I'll take 4 from my ring. There is a Trenchpost. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This will be 13. Let's just play a Cloudpost. Cast this. Yeah. Kill that on cast. I don't think I need to draw any cards with the one ring here. A new Psychic Frog, that's fine. A Murderous Cut. I'm just going to kill a frog here. Nope. Black. Oh, I see. I need to do this. Logistically a little weird. Whatever. Draw some cards. One Glimmerpost just undoes all of this. Yeah. Alright, we are getting the GGs from the opponent in chat. They are finally ready to throw in the towel on the turn that we Emrakul. Well, I think that was super enjoyable, Magic. I really enjoyed recording this league. The build might be a little off still. I am not actually sure if Disruptor Flute is as good as I thought it was in the main deck of this deck. Without Ancient Tombs specifically to power this out on turn 1, like, the initial Wasteland can still come down and snipe a Cloudpost or Tower or Planar Nexus, so maybe Pithing Needle is still just better than Flute. Like, maybe Flute's a sideboard card. Not 100% sure. I'm very happy that I have green in the deck for this card. The explorations were very hit or miss. They were incredible or bad. With the one ring, they threatened to spiral even faster than the one ring normally would. Thought-Knot Seer was not as good in this league as I was expecting it would be. It often was not a turn 2 play. It's a turn 2 play off Planar Nexus and Urza Tower. More on that in a second. So, like, when you line up the best draws, the Thought-Knot Seer stuff is absolutely incredible. And when you don't, it's kind of medium. So this deck is probably misbuilt in some capacity. I really like Urza's Tower plus Planar Nexus. I am glad that I kept at least that portion of the deck from the original deck idea. And the Cloudpost player who did well in the challenge, faulted form, question mark? No. True something? I have forgotten. My brain is mush. This is my second video I recorded today. Apologies. They were on this same tech, and I think this is really, really, really good. I did not kill anyone with Trenchpost this time. If things went a little differently, I would have. The Magus of the Moon, Harbinger of the Seas, Blood Moon style cards are really good against this deck, since so many of the newer Eldrazi specifically have these colored pips. So, if I were going to do another league with this deck, I would be thinking about these 8 slots from the main deck. I think everything else was reasonable. I think I am fine playing the Ulamog, even though it is like a clearly weaker Eldrazi than something like Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger or Backdoor Trenchpost wins. But maybe you just play 2 Ulamogs. That card is really good. Pretty happy with the stuff that I had access to in the sideboard. Again, a little unsure about Glacial Chasm. The ability to search it up with only this might not be enough. Generally speaking, fun deck. Do recommend trying it out, but there is clear tuning to be done with this archetype still. But if you need cards for this fun deck or any other thing you're messing around with for Modern Horizons 3, check out TOAmagic.com. Use promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you. And folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!